Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for your many blessings, Lord. We just pray that you would watch over us, God. Help us to come here, come together, Lord. We just pray that you would bless the people who come out today and just be with us, God. Give us wisdom and discernment. We just pray that you would help us all work together. We pray all this in Jesus' holy name.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Magistrate. Where's Candy? Okay. We're working on technical difficulties here for just a second, okay? Are you ready? Okay. Ms. Renfro, if you'd call the roll, please.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders? Present. Ms. Lawson?
Yes. I'm here, whatever.
Ms. Johnson? Aaron? Here. Mr. Williams?
Here. Thank you. Treasurer's transfer report, Canaan.
Yes, Judge, and I have that transfer report is dated for today, 5/16/23 for your.
I'll put the formal motion that we accept the treasurer's transfer report as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Johnson to approve the treasurer's transfer report as presented. Ms. Renfro, call the roll, please.
Ms. Sanders? Yes. Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes. Presentation and approval of all bills is presented.
I make a motion that we approve all bills.
Second.
Got a motion by 1st District Magistrate, Sanders, a second by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon to approve the bills as presented. Ms. Renfro, call the roll, please.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders? Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, Canaan, please.
Yes, Judge, and that includes your appropriation condition report, your revenue condition report, and your financial statement through April the 30th of 2023 for your approval.
Make a motion we accept the treasurer's report. Approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Johnson to approve the treasurer's report, yes, as presented. Ms. Renfro, call the roll, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders? Yes. Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from the May 2nd, 2023 meeting.
I make a motion that we approve minutes for the May 2nd, 2023 meeting.
I'll second.
Got a motion by 1st District Magistrate Sanders, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Johnson to approve the May 2nd, 2023 minutes of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court as presented. Ms. Renfro, call the roll, please.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders? Yes. Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Presentations, we were supposed to have this the last time, but we had a little bit of a tragedy in our community. So at this time, Director Warren and Assistant Director John is going to make a presentation about ELC and the FEMA reimbursement.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm going to talk to you all about the FEMA reimbursement from the March 2nd and 3rd wind events that we had. So this is the map of the county. All the dots on the screen are different assessments that we went out and did. We use a program called Survey 123 to submit these assessments to the state. It goes directly to the state EOC during the incident and afterwards, so anything that we update later on. Those are the public assistance assessments that we started off doing. Those are for any city or county building, property, anything like that. Any damage is done to them. All the information's in there and it goes straight to the EOC as well. Those are the individual assistance. Those are the privately owned properties of the citizens. FEMA says that they mostly go for underinsured or uninsured homes. So if shingles are blown off roofs, they're not looking for that as much as if there was major structural damage to the residents. So the per FEMA county threshold for damage is $365,043.48. They said our population is estimated to be about 82,217. So they divide the threshold by the population, which equals that to be about $4.44 per person on average. Every county is different. As of today, the possible FEMA reimbursement that we're going to get is about $380,000 worth of damages. That can rise as we clean up more debris. They have assigned us a FEMA representative. They haven't contacted us yet, but they will be assisting us with the rest of the reimbursement process.
Okay.
I just wanted to give an update on the renovation for the EOC. As you can see on the left is the before picture. There was an office and a supply room on the right. And then the picture on the right is during the construction with new flooring. Additional pictures. They came in and redid the entire grid of the ceiling. New flooring, approximately 4,500 square feet, upstairs and downstairs. And then this is close to a finished picture here. All the tables and chairs have been assembled. There's 20 tables, 40 chairs, and 8 monitors in the main room. And then the center will be offered for a statewide training. No cost to any department. It's sponsored by the state. And of course, it'll be served as an emergency operations center for any disaster or large event in the county. We were able to repurpose a lot of furniture and equipment. It was under budget.
And any questions for either Justin or John?
It looks good. Once again, thanks for the presentation stuff. I love what you all do over there and seeing the pictures, videos, and stuff. Y'all do a great job, so thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any guest speakers on the list? Is there? Okay. All right. Hey.
Justin, there's not many counties that offer, has anything like
Thanks,
that.
Tim.
That offer training for other places. That seems really...
Every county is required to have an EOC, but has a larger scale like that for the host training stuff.
That's really impressive. It really is.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. They are. Yeah. And what we will do, because if all these speakers on here, Hibbs, Shepherd, STO, HER, and EBANGELISTI, if it's all related to the zoning, you can speak during that, okay?
Right now?
But when we read the zoning ordinance, okay? All right, thank you guys. And so at this time, first reading public hearing is zoning ordinance 23-12, KY Land Holdings of Elizabethtown. Charlie?
Planning docket 2023 Z19, Kentucky Land Holdings of Elizabethtown, requesting to rezone from Ag to R1. located on Castleman Branch Road, parcel number 019-000-00-182, in an unincorporated area of the county, 50.5 acres more or less, to subdivide into potentially 8 tracts. Agricultural, future land use map calls for agricultural or rural residential. Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, held a public hearing on April 13th, 2023. Based upon the testimony of the applicants and proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. However, agricultural zoning surrounds the property and is more appropriate for the area. Opponents objected to the rezoning over drainage issues, lack of adequate water facilities, electrical facilities, and sewage facilities, as well as inadequate roadways. Because of the testimony received, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends the requested zoning change be denied and sends an unfavorable recommendation to Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Ms. Baker?
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-12. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 50.5 acres more or less, located on Castleman Branch Road, parcel number 019-000-00-182 in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court, and whereas the Fiscal Court disputes and rejects the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for denial of said zoning change and disapproves and rejects the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and based upon its own findings of fact, determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-19, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of May 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-12, KY Land Holdings of Elizabethtown? Seeing or hearing none. Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-12? You can step up here in whatever order you want to, just identify yourself, okay? Come on, there you go, yep.
Morning.
Good morning. And you are?
I am John D'Angelisti. I live at 1760 Castleman Branch Road, which is right across the parcel that's under consideration.
Okay.
I don't have any new material that was already presented at the public hearing, but I'd like to go over some of that. I'm either going to lose my voice because I have allergies, or I'm going to run over time, and then Herb will take over for me.
Okay.
I'm opposed to rezoning that as residential, and I have a long list of reasons why that is. I think it's ill-conceived. There's going to be additional costs and problems that were not considered by the developer, cost to the county, cost to the other residents there. Concern number one is with the application itself. The application contained only a boundary survey and not the subdivide, so it doesn't, you can't tell from that application what they actually intend to do. But since we've all lived around there, we know what the problems with this area are. The application has a box checked for no existing structures. That is not true. There's actually structures on the property right now. The application states that the property is hilly to gently rolling. I've actually taken topography curves out of Google Earth. You have a 70-degree incline on parts of the hill. It's almost straight up in the air. So that's another problem that's kind of overlooked. The application has the box checked for no streams, rivers, or major drainage basins. That's not correct. There's actually streams on the property. There are drainage basins, ponds, and there's already problems with flooding from the runoff from that steep hill area. I don't know if anybody has seen these. I can pass them around. You can take a look. You have them.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where I documented it. The application asks for a description of detailed use of the surrounding property. Both the south and west surrounding properties have been left blank on the application. The application has a box checked for existing water. This is kind of misleading and not entirely correct. There's actually a 6-inch water main that goes on the opposite side of the road. At my house at the top of the hill, I get about 20 PSIG, which is barely adequate for for a residential home. And to the top of the hill is 200 feet up. They cannot get city water in there without adding pumps and increasing the size of the water main, in my estimation. So that water is not available. The application has the box checked for on-site septic systems. That is not true. There are none. And I've had a septic system built on my property. The ground is rocky. It's rocky clay. You have to have topsoil trucked in. You need approximately 1 acre of flat ground to build a septic system that complies with Bullitt County and Kentucky state codes. They don't have that there. They're going to have to move massive amounts of dirt to make anything legal in there. Findings question 1 and 2, the findings on the property, they left it blank. So my opinion is that the developer bought this property. They didn't do their homework. They didn't go investigate this. If they had, they might have chosen not to buy that property for a residential development. There's no elevations shown on your boundary survey. That's a major omission. There are drainage basins, flooding areas, water draining onto Fort Knox, and other problems with it. How am I doing on time so far? Okay, I'm going to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, concern number 2, current neighbors and I currently enjoy benefits of rural living. I don't hunt on my property. I got 30 acres, but all the neighbors go hunting there. This is something they're going to lose. People keep animals there. This is going to generate complaints. I don't care about chickens and cows myself, but somebody building a residential will probably not like that so much. So they're going to take, this is a taking from the residents that currently live there and are accustomed to a rural lifestyle. Concern number 3 is electric power. The addition of 8 residential homes in that area is going to require about 3,500 watts for a 3-bedroom house is average. Times 8, that's 28 kilowatts. They don't have the poles, the lines, the transformers, or anything in that area to bring that power in. So this is another hidden cost in there, is bringing more power up that hill. The other concern is noise. We live adjacent to Fort Knox. There are small, detonations there from Special Forces training. It's also a flyover area for UPS and FedEx jets. They come in low because they're heavy. And it changes, it's below the 85 decibel limit right now. But if they start changing the landscape, they're going to change how that sound comes down into the holler. And so that might be an additional complaint if they start moving lots of dirt out. Concern number 5 is construction. Building 8 residential properties will require extensive deforestation and earth movement. There is no place that is suitable to put a home there by simply cutting the trees down. They're going to have to move a lot of dirt. And under the 55 acres that's under consideration, there's approximately 10 acres of that is easily accessible. The rest of it is very steeply inclined hills. They're going to need to build roads on that property to access part of it. There are none right now. And there's going to be some heavy equipment damage to the new road that we have from bringing in heavy equipment. Concern number 6, wildlife habitat. That existing parcel has herds of deers, turkeys, squirrels, timber rattlers, raccoons, everything lives there. And they come back and forth from my property and Charlie's property back and forth to that. So that habitat will be disturbed. All those animals are going to have to find new homes or wait till their population declines. Concern number 7 is the past history in what has happened in Bullitt County. Things have been approved without people doing their homework, and that has resulted in problems that the county is still paying for today, namely flooding, traffic, and other things. This is a consideration up there that I think should be looked at. Concern number 8 is more of the past history. The previous owner of my property tried to do something very similar. He tried to subdivide into 5 lots, and he simply ran out of money and abandoned the whole project. It's just not practical. You need about 3 or 4 acres of flat land to build a house and have a septic system there, and it's not practical to build more than 1 or 2 houses on that property, even with extensive dirt work. So this has been tried before, and it resulted in a failure. Concern number 9 is the septic systems. There are no septic systems on that property that meet any code at all. They're going to have to, because of the soil type, they're going to have to truck in topsoil, which is hard to find in Bullitt County. I've had it done. They're going to need about an acre of flat space. It's going to have drainage, 25 feet all the way around it. And on the septic system, which I had built, that was $21,000 worth of dirt, just for the dirt, not anything else. So this is an additional hidden cost. I think that if the developer were to read the Kentucky Code 1085 on building septic systems there, he would not have made the statement there's existing septic. It doesn't exist, and it's not practical to build it there. You've got creeks and streams draining right into Fort Knox, where he would probably want to build that, so he's not going to be able to do that. Concern number 10 is the wind loading on that property. At the top of the hill, which is about 200 feet up from the road surface, one of the advantages of living in the holler is we're shielded from the wind. My next door neighbor at the top of the hill has measured wind speeds of 67 miles per hour during this last bit of weather that we had there. There's about a 3 or 4 acre flat spot on the top of the hill, and it looks really nice for building on. You'd be crazy to build anything up there because the wind speeds are very high at the top of that knob, and you'd be right underneath the FedEx and UPS planes as they're taking off at low altitude. And the other concern, people who have built homes, developed property in hollers, when you have a holler which is facing east-west, we know that side of the mountain which is facing the south gets the heavy rain. The north side is where you want to build at because the rain is lighter and you don't have as much drainage problems. He's proposing to build on the south-facing hillside of a holler where there's going to be exceptionally heavy rain. And I mean, you could drive anywhere around Kentucky and see that people just don't do that. Your house gets washed away. Right. And I think that's all I've got to say about it. Okay.
Well, we should thank you for your testimony.
Okay.
Anyone else want to? Okay, Mr. Hibbs or whoever, whichever. Okay, that'd be fine.
My name's Billy Stoker. I live at 2055 Castleman's Ranch Road. There's a place there that when it rains, it runs off. It washes creek rock and everything out in the road, and I have to take my tractor up and grade it out of the road. I did it 100 times. And the road floods all in front of that property. It runs out in the ditch. It runs by another neighbor's house, gonna flood them out if they do that. And there's not enough. I just got run off the road day before yesterday on our road because there's not enough, the road's not big enough for a bunch of houses. And that's where I'm at with them.
Okay, all right.
The flooding problem and the road.
Okay. Billy, thank you. Mr. Hibbs, or which, ma'am, Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm J. Denise Shepherd, and I live at 1376 Castleman Branch Road. My home sits on the left, where the property in question's on the right, just past Mr. Hibbs's. And all the runoff, like the one man said about the sewers and things like that, that would be coming down off the hill, will come into in the gully, in the holler, and run right into the creek behind my home. I already have issues with some neighbors and their sewers. I don't need any more. And I just don't think it's feasible to put that in houses. We've had trouble. When we first moved there, there was an old farmhouse there, and it was supposedly had septic tank and lateral lines. It did not, and all that came through as something else. I'm sorry. I thought I had turned it all the way down. My mistake. But anyway, we had trouble at that time, and that was in the 80s, early 90s. Well, since that time, that house has been destroyed and tore down and everything else. But when it does rain, yes, there is washout in the curve past our home. And if you put septic tank and lateral lines in, they're gonna overflow. And some people have to have lagoons. There was a gentleman built a brand new home out at the beginning of the road, and he had to have a lagoon put in. And he's sitting up on a hillside. And our neighbors, some other neighbors, they had to have lagoons put in because the ground didn't perk. I have septic tank and lateral lines. My ground perked because of where it sits. They build houses up on the hillsides and stuff like that. It's not going to do. It's all going to run downhill, run down into the creek. It's all going to run in behind my home. Besides, the road's not wide enough for that much traffic. Cars, trucks. I mean, on Fridays, we have two garbage trucks that come through. One will either be in front of it or one will be in behind it, but they usually meet somewhere back in that area. Besides the school bus. And then you have UPS, FedEx, Amazon. They're in and out the road at least 2 to 3 times a day. And no, they don't do the speed limit. Not even the mailman when he's a sub. Okay? So, that's all I want to say.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you.
Mr. Hibbs? How are you today? Yes, sir.
Morning, Fiscal Court. Herb Hibbs, I live at 1185 Castleman Branch Road. And as you've heard from several of the other Castleman Branch residents, we were really concerned when we went to the planning and zoning. We went in with an open mind and wanted to hear what they had to say and everything. And then we got John, he's been an engineer for 40 years, so that's the topographs and everything. So he knows what he's doing. He's got all the testing, all the equipment, he's got all the files and all the programs to look everything up. I'm next to this property and I have 40 acres. And like Ms. Shepherd said, I had to build on the hill and I had to put a lagoon in. I mean, we perk tested almost 3 acres and cost me like $75 a perk test to find out I still got to put a lagoon in. So
where Ms. Shepherd's talking about the drainage off the hill, I butt up right next to it, and where they're proposing to put these 8 homes in is in like a 10, maybe 15 if you push it, in this area with planning and zoning told him, you can put a house on 10 acres. That's the rule. But he wants to put 8 houses in a 15-acre area where we're already having problems, and there's the pictures in the stream, that runs right down in the corner that comes across and behind Miss Shepherd's property and right by Charlie. And in John, it's a 70-degree angle up the hill. Mine was about a 40, and I stair-stepped into the hill. And that, I took all that dirt, and it took a long time. It cost me a lot of money. And as far as the road, it's maybe 1.5 cars wide. We got half the road was paved up to High Water Road 2 years ago. They finished ours, so we finally got our side of the road paved. And Brian's been down there cutting the grass and everything. It's not wide enough. I mean, he has to be very careful just driving up and down, cutting the grass on the side of the road. That's about 6 months ago, we had a 4-wheeler and a dirt bike accident. Kids still in the hospital, 2 broken legs. And the 4-wheeler, the side-by-side was just sitting still on the side of the road, but there was a car coming, so he swerved over, didn't see the 4x4 as he come around the corner. We got a lot of blind corners going through there, and like I said, they don't really do the speed limit, besides the flooding. And so, we started reading through everything that Kentucky Land proposed. Well, it's like some of these other businesses that are trying to come in and build these subdivisions. He didn't do his homework and didn't know we had an engineer living on our street to go through that's going to check all this stuff. There were structures, there is a pond, there is a stream, there was no septic, because we've all lived there long enough to know what's been on that property. I tried to buy the property, just so we wouldn't have neighbors that are Kentucky Land at the end of the PVA. He said, just email me. So I emailed him. I guess that's why he's not here today. I told him I'll buy the property just so nothing can happen to it, to leave wildlife, leave everything alone. But, we got the unfavorable recommendation of planning and zoning because of everything that Kentucky Land left out, didn't want to do, and didn't put everything in there. And as residents, we got no problem with construction and people building houses and making our street nice and pretty. But do it the right way. And they didn't do it the right way. They tried to circumvent the system, put the least amount of information on there to get approved so they can do what they want. When the water's over top of the roadway there on 44 at the bridge, what's the bypass? It's come down, you got Pitts Point, they come down high water to Castleman. Happens about 3 or 4 times a year. And that's not counting 8 more houses, 16 more cars if you only got 2. You got 3, so you're looking at 24 cars that's going to go up and down that road, not counting more kids. When that road shut down, everybody's cutting through High Water Road and Castleman Branch when that road shuts down. So, appreciate them unfavorable again or denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb.
You're welcome.
Okay, the first reading and public hearing is zoning ordinance 23-13, J. Romine.
Planning docket 2023 Z20, J. Romine, seeking to rezone from Ag R1 to R1, located at 7839 Highway 44 East, parcel 063-000-00-097A, in an unincorporated area of the county. 9.024 acres more or less, to subdivide it into 2 tracts. Future land use map calls for low density residential. Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, held a public hearing on the application on April 13th, 2023. Based upon the testimony at that hearing, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Because of the testimony received at the hearing, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you, Charlie. Ms. Baker, please.
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-13. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 9.024 acres, more or less, located at 7839 Highway 44 East, parcel number 063-000-00-097A, in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court. And whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1. That the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-20, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3. Should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4. All ordinances and resolutions, to the extent they are inconsistent herewith, are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of May 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. At this time, anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-13, Jay Romine?
Judge, Mr. Romine did reach out to me specifically, and he wanted me to express to the court that he would have been here today to answer any questions, but he's taking care of his mother today. She has a hospital or doctor visit. But he did want to point out that the purpose of this is for his private residence and his daughter's residence. They purchased that property and they're just splitting it up to build personal homes on it, not as an investment or flipping or anything like that. That's the purpose of the rezoning application.
Okay. Thank you, Magistrate Logston. Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-13, Jay Romine? Seeing or hearing none. Charlie, first reading public hearing of zoning ordinance 23-14. Robert and Kimberly Wood.
Planning docket 2023-Z21, Robert and Kimberly Wood, seeking to rezone from Ag to R1, located at 289 Lynchwood Court, parcel 063-000-00-032, in an unincorporated area of the county. 7.45 acres more or less, to subdivide into 3 tracts. Future land use map calls for agricultural or rural residential. Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 102.211, held a public hearing on April 13th. Based upon the testimony of the applicants and the proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Because of the testimony received there, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you. Ms. Baker, please.
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-14. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 7.45 acres, more or less, located at 289 Lynchwood Court, parcel number 063-000-00-032, in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court. And whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-21, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions, to the extent they are inconsistent herewith, are hereby repealed. given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of May 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-14, Robert and Kimberly Wood? Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-14, Robert and Kimberly Wood? Hearing none. Thank you, Charlie. First reading, public hearing is zoning ordinance 23-15, James, Lonnie, Dennis Dawson, and Sherry Rogers.
Planning docket 2023 Z22, James, Lonnie, Dennis Dawson, and Sherry Rogers, seeking to rezone from ag to conservation. Located at 1515 Belmont Road, parcel 040-000-00-040, in an unincorporated area of the county. 3.16 acres more or less. The purpose is to subdivide off that 3.16 acres with the house from the remaining farm. The future land use map calls for agricultural, rural, residential. The Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, held a public hearing on April 13th, 2023. Based upon the testimony of the applicants and/or proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the requested zoning change is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Because of the testimony received at the hearing, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you, Charlie. Ms. Baker, please.
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-15, an ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to conservation. The property in question is 3.16 acres more or less, located at 1515 Belmont Road, parcel number 040-000-00-040, in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court. And whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-22, is hereby changed from agricultural to conservation. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of May 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 6th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. I need a action. Oh, I'm sorry.
What action on the next one?
Yeah, no, I apologize. I do. I was more entrenched with the next one over the FEMA agreement. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-15, James, Lonnie, Dennis, Dawson, and Sherry Rogers? Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-15, James, Lonnie, Dennis, and Sherry Rogers? Hearing none. Okay, second reading zoning ordinance 23-11, an ordinance amending the flood damage prevention ordinance of 16-05.
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, ordinance number 23-11, an ordinance of Bullitt County, Kentucky, amending the flood damage prevention ordinance 1605. Whereas the Bullitt County Fiscal Court in Bullitt County, Kentucky had previously established a flood damage prevention ordinance within Bullitt County, and whereas all ordinances and part of ordinances in conflict herewith, to the extent of such conflict only, are hereby repealed, and whereas this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption, readoption, and publication as required by law. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County that the flood damage prevention ordinance for Bullitt County be amended as follows. Article 3, General Provisions. Section B, Basis for establishing the special flood hazard areas. The areas of special flood hazard identified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, in the Flood Insurance Study, the FIS, for Bullitt County, dated April 5th, 2016, with the accompanying flood insurance rate maps, or FIRMs, other supporting data, and any subsequent amendments thereto, are hereby adopted by reference and declared to be a part of these regulations. This FIS and attendant mapping is the minimum area of applicability of this ordinance and may be supplemented by studies for other areas which allow implementation of this ordinance and which are recommended by the Fiscal Court to the Fiscal Court by the floodplain administrator and are enacted by Fiscal Court pursuant to statutes governing land use management regulations. The FIS and/or FIRM are permanent records of Bullitt County and are on file and available for review by the public during regular business hours at the Bullitt County Planning and Zoning Office, located at 149 North Walnut Street, 3rd floor, Shepherdsville, Kentucky, 40165. Should any section, clause, line, paragraph, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason, the same shall not affect the remainder of this ordinance. This ordinance amendment will be adopted at a public meeting of the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County on May 16th, 2023. Given first reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of April, 2023. Given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 16th day of May, 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. At this time, we do need action on this ordinance.
I'll put in the form of a motion that we accept the ordinance amending the flood damage prevention ordinance 16-05.
I have a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by 4th District Magistrate Blumel, to approve zoning ordinance 23-11 that amends the prevention ordinance of 16-05. Ms. Renfro, please call the roll.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blumel?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I'm going to make a motion to reappoint Dale DeRoe to the Zonton Fire Board District, term to expire on June 30th of 2026. He's been a great contributor to the Zonton Fire Protection District in our workings with them.
A second.
I got a second by 1st District Magistrate Sanders. Ms. Renfro, please call the roll.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blumel?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to make a motion to appoint Jewett Borden to the Bullitt County Extension Agency to complete the term of Owen Taylor's term to expire June 30th of 2025. And for the consternation on this is that Mr. Taylor was an elected official, and according to the KRSs of the no elected official can sit on their board.
Second.
I have a second by 4th District Magistrate Blumel. And Ms. Renfro, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blumel?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
I think he'll be a good fit for that.
Yes, he will.
Definitely.
Yep. Number 8, actions requested on an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Bullitt County Sheriff's Office and the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force. And Chief Deputy Payne is here to explain any of the details on that. And if the members of the court have questions, or Chief, if you'd like to chat with them for just a minute, you're welcome to. Okay?
Unless anybody has any questions, they're up.
Okay.
I did have a chance to talk to Sheriff Shawler, and he explained the interlock agreement to me, and it sounds like a good program. I would highly recommend Approve it.
All right. And this is things that we've done in the past too, with interlocal agreements with Drug Task Force and other communities. So,
Yeah, it says it's a continuation. So,
Well, I'll put it in the form of a motion that we go ahead and accept the interlocal cooperation agreement with the Bullitt County Sheriff's Office and the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force.
A second.
got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by 1st District Magistrate Sanders to approve the interlocal agreement with Bullitt County Sheriff's Office and the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force. I just have one comment. You all have to all sign the agreement as well before we leave on the original document. Myself and, yes, absolutely. And Mr. Payne has the original. We have copies. So at this time, Ms. Renfro, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Johnson?
yes.
Mr. Blingwell?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And I'm going to make a motion to move Caden Wicker, an EMT, from part-time to full-time, effective May the 16th, 2023. There is no change in the pay rate.
Second.
And I have a second by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon. Ms. Renfro, if you call the roll, please.
Mr. Blingwell?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We have action requested on the reapportionment. Brad Severia, Evan Wright, and Kathleen Seeger. But I'd also like to put a caveat on that. We have, just in case any of them has any type of emergency or whatever, I'd like to position it to where Mr. Rouse and Mr. Wheeler both, they're from different districts, from the 4th and 2nd districts, be used as alternates. A little bit about Mr. Severia. He's currently been recently appointed by the new mayor of Louisville to be head of their ABC, lives in Mount Washington. He's in the 2nd district. Evan Wright is, he's got all kinds of accolades. Two-year graduate now from the University of Notre Dame, lives in Deer Run. He's an attorney, longtime member of this community. And then Kathleen Seeger in the 4th District, lives on Belmont Road, longtime active member of the community in Bullitt County, and she's a paralegal up here with Emily, oh shoot, I can't, Brian, what's Emily's last name? Ted Corfridge's daughter. Monarch. So, and I'm going to put that in the form of a motion to send these people over to Kevin for the reapportionment committee. And I have a second by Karen, 3rd District Magistrate Karen Johnson. Evan Wright is the 2nd District.
We got 2 people from the 2nd.
I mean, no, he's 3rd District. I apologize, Brian. I'm just having a hard time seeing right now.
And reapportionment, they're going to work directly with Kevin.
With Kevin,
about
right. And
looking at the districts.
yes, and they bring the results back to us. And the one thing to be sure of, there'll be no, or from where I sit, there'll be no gerrymandering of the districts.
So are they making a recommendation to the fiscal court, and then we have to approve that?
Yes.
How that'll work?
And that'll be for the next election. Be 2026. Any other discussion, members of the court? Hearing none, Ms. Renfro, please call the roll.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingwell?
Okay, action requested, and I'll have to make this motion to cut the checks for the folks who worked in the primary election on May the 16th of 2023.
I'll second.
Got a second by Ms. Johnson from the 2nd District, 3rd District. I apologize. Please call the roll.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingmore?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Thank you.
Motion carried.
And action requested to appoint Susan Perkins de Salvia to the Southeast Fire District Board, term to expire June 30th of 2026. I'll make that motion. Brian? Okay. I have a second by Brian Blingmore, 4th District Magistrate. Ms. Renfro, call the roll, please.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingmore? Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, comments. Brian, I'll start with you this time. Yes,
I'll have, just make sure everybody goes out. If you haven't voted early, go ahead and vote today. Exercise your right.
okay. Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
And that's what I was going to say. Today is election day. Now you get to go vote. If you haven't already.
Yeah, I'll make a comment on that. Sean?
I don't have a lot. I just want to thank everybody and thank Justin and his team. I seen them and out at the Mount Washington Spring Festival, they had the trailer out there handing out stuff, goodies. And I know that makes a big difference, in presence in the community and stuff. And so all of our employees and departments and stuff were present there. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for being part of that. And you know, it was a good turnout. The weather held out good. No, I don't have anything else. Appreciate everybody that came out here today.
Okay. And it's down to Vera. Vera?
No, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out today. It's good to see everyone. There's a few that are very faithful about being here to hold our fiscal court meetings, and I'd just like to thank you all.
Okay. And this time, my closing comments, we have some flyers up here for what I'm going to say the repurposing or the renovation of our Maryville Park. There's some opportunities for organizations. We're putting in a par 3 9-hole disc golf facility out there as well. And there's opportunities for sponsorships, like on the signs that you'd see at a regular golf course. We have one of the premier designers of disc golf in the country doing this for us. And we're supporting them, so I have plenty of these. I do have one more closing comment that along the lines of a Senate bill, the city of Hillview's applied to annexation for the SNS Concrete, which is literally a rock throw from city of Shepherdsville. So we will be in discussions about that, and I will invite any of the magistrates to speak with myself and the county attorney about it, because their action is before our next court meeting. Yeah, it's June the 5th, Ryan. They just come in hot off the press, I mean literally right before this court meeting, so.
And also the state has a moratorium on annexation for the cities because of the corridor annexation or shoestring annexation, whatever it is.
It's Senate Bill 141, yeah, and we'll be reviewing that.
Yes, and it's going to take us a minute or two to catch our breath, but you're invited to speak with myself on all of you one at a time because of sunshine laws. Or we could even hold a special meeting on it if we need to, if it's a pleasure of the court. So, and again, reiterate what everybody says, it's election day. Please get out and vote, and please keep supporting our community. Mayor Dangerfield, thank you for being here, Ms. Preston as well. I can't thank Chief Butler for being around. And I see a couple of strangers in here today. Anita, you're not really a stranger, but so long lost. And Jayla Whitaker, and I can't say enough about Chief Deputy Payne because he gave probably one of the best interviews with WLKY I've ever seen on active shooting and shooter roles at WLKY. So at this time, Vera, what time is it?
It's 10:30, time to adjourn.
Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a motion by First District Magistrate Sanders, a second by Third District Magistrate Johnson to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Renfro, please call the roll.
Mr. Blemo?
Yes.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logsdon?
Yes.
Motion carried.